Thank you for joining us. We are doing something special this week. We are showing some of our best shows. And on Friday, you're going to find out what happened to the guests from those shows. On today's show, the pain that our guests are going through could happen to your own family. Please watch. All of our guests today share the same heartache. These people are fighting for the right to love and be a part of a child's life. They are parents, grandparents, and innocent children who are caught in the middle of a vicious family feud. Please meet Pauline, and this is her husband, Bill. Pauline says that the happiest day of her life was the day when her granddaughter, Alex, was born. But the joy was destroyed when Pauline's daughter and her son-in-law announced that Pauline and her husband could never see the granddaughter, Alex, again. Pauline, your daughter, Robin, and your son-in-law, Mark, are backstage, and they have your granddaughter, Alex, and we are going to talk with them in just a few minutes. First, how long has it been since you've seen Alex?
We saw her for about 15 minutes in a food store about 2 weeks ago.
How did that come about?
Bill and I...
Just coincidence, actually.
Yeah, we just went in the same store, and my husband said that he saw Mark down the aisle, and we went 2 or 3 more aisles, and we saw that my daughter and the baby was there.
And you hadn't seen them in a while, right?
Yes.
Go back at the very beginning. You have a daughter named Robin.
Robin.
And when she's still pretty young, isn't she?
Yes, Robin's 23. She met this guy named Mark, and it was kind of a fast romance, and they wanted to get married. We weren't too sure about this marriage. We weren't too sure for the fact that Robin was too young, too immature. Mark is older than Robin. We could see some signs on both of them that it was not going to be a good marriage.
How much older is he?
I think he's about 35 or whatever he says he is. We're not sure.
We're not sure.
You don't know how old
We're not sure how many times he's been married, how old he is.
You know,
he claims one thing, and see, both of them, we don't think tell the truth too much. We know our daughter doesn't.
Really? You know your daughter doesn't?
The problem is as much with our daughter as it is with him.
So he's at least 15, maybe 20 years older than
Maybe, yeah.
The problem lies with that. They did have a rocky marriage at the beginning. She came home right after she was married. It went back and forth. It was off and on. Finally, they came to us and said that Robin was pregnant. And we knew it was going to be difficult, but because of the baby, we would weather the storm. We went the 9 months, and to believe it or not, we were all very good friends, and we went through the 9 months with her. We took Robin to the hospital the day before the baby was born. She had to go in to have induced labor. She was late. That night we stayed with her. Then her husband came late, and the next day we were there all day and all night. And I guess it was about 10 o'clock, Mark came out to tell us that they were going to do a C-section, and Robin was having a hard time, and that I could go in and I could see her. And I went into the labor room, and I said, sure, it's just going to be a little while longer, and it's going to be okay, and we'll have this baby. And it was about 1 o'clock. Mark came down the hospital aisle with this little bassinet, and there was Alex, and she looked just like Robin. I mean, if you're not a grandmother, you can't imagine what that day is like to see that little baby and to hold her. And we were very lucky. The hospital Robin was in, the next day we could bond with this baby. So 24 hours later, we could go in the room and actually hold her and feel her and not have to look behind a glass. So it was very important for us to be there. And at that time...
Now, when the baby was born, how long had they been married?
Approximately about a year.
Around a year.
Yeah, they were so off and on that we're not sure dates.
The marriage was off.
Very rocky.
The marriage was off, the marriage was on, the marriage was off.
Yes.
And when
it has been up until the last couple of months. Actually, she's only recently gone back with him again.
Yeah.
So that you took care of her when the marriage was off.
Yes, Robin came to live with us, and she took care of us.
Now the baby is born.
Baby is born. About a week later, I went to Robin's. I brought her home from the hospital with the baby to their apartment. A couple of days later, I went, and I could see that Robin was feeling very tired, very anxious, and I said to her, this is very difficult with a new baby, and you had a C-section. Come home by us, and I'll take care of you till you get on your feet and you can sleep. During the day, I'll take care of the baby. At night, you get up and bond with her. Well, she did. And Mark would come, and when they came, they would have words, and they would argue, and he would leave, and Robin would cry. And we said, it's just that period of adjustment right now with this new baby, and things will be okay. Robin decided after a while she would go home. She went home with the baby. They lived in one apartment. Things weren't working well. He moved then the baby and Robin to his father's house. His father owns a multi-family home. They tried it there. Things didn't work. They were back and forth with this baby. Finally, Robin made the decision to come home for good. We picked her up with everything that she could get together, and we took her home with us. Robin stayed with us approximately 9 months. During that time, we financially and physically took care of Robin and this baby.
So you have the baby from birth to 9 months, and you're bonding with the baby and how are you getting along with your daughter? Well?
Things are okay. Robin was young, of course. I've learned now that I've made this mistake. I'm an over-loving, over-caring mother. I guess that gets you in trouble. And I tried to help her with the baby, and Robin was a very good mother. That baby was young, and she really used to say to her all the time, Robin, we're proud of you, you're doing a good job. And it was hard. Robin's a young girl. Then months went on, and you could see that she would visit with her husband. They would come, they would fight, they would meet at the mall, and things weren't going good. Then it finally got to the point they have 2 moms in one house and one baby, 2 ladies in one kitchen, and you know, and sometimes it doesn't work. We are in the process of moving to a townhouse, and we said, Robin, maybe this is a good idea if you go into your own apartment and you raise this baby your way, and we come to visit and everything will be better, and you have to have your own self-esteem. We were able to find Robin housing through our housing authority. And I'll be honest, it was not the greatest apartment, and they will tell you it was probably horrible, but it's a place for her to have, yes, but she would have self-esteem, and she could have her own apartment and have her own baby, and I would back off, but it didn't work. Robin would call, and I'd be there every day, and it was the 9 months Robin lived with us, she was my best friend. Robin never went anywhere without Mommy. Robin never went anywhere without Belle. We were a family. We were holidays. The first Christmas, he didn't want to know anything about this baby. 9 o'clock at night, Robin and I were doing 100 miles an hour on the highway looking for that perfect dress for Christmas Day. We got her through everything. We shopped for her for the baby, made their holiday the best we could. We felt bad for her. And at one point, I honestly have to say I felt bad for Mark. He doesn't have a family. He has no mother. And I thought maybe this was the problem. But the more you befriend them, the more they just give it to you. So when she finally went into her own apartment, it was Mom helped me with curtains, and Bill and I furnished everything for them, gave them all the furniture, her and the baby.
Listening to us, right? And Robin says she has no other choice than to keep her daughter away from her mother because she says Pauline, quote, is not emotionally fit to take care of Alex. Robin, why don't you want to let your mother and your stepfather see the grandchild?
First of all, it's not forever. I never said that you couldn't see her forever.
Okay.
Just right now, obviously, my mom doesn't like Mark. And we were separated for a while. We just recently got back together. And I know she's not happy with that. You know, that's fine. But basically right now what I have to do is I need some time to work out my marriage. And Mark lost 11 months with my daughter. He didn't see her basically at all.
For 11 months?
Right, because we were separated. So he needs to get a relationship with her. And my mom doesn't stay out of like our business. She just
very pushy.
She just doesn't stay out. She causes trouble. She makes, you know, remarks.
What kind of trouble does she cause, Mark?
Well, she's seen my daughter, I don't know, I think it was like a month and a half ago, something like that. And the next day she seen my daughter, she went and called DIFUS. Now,
no, we didn't call DIFUS.
Excuse me, you had your turn. Let me run this.
Pardon us, what's DIFUS?
DIFUS is, they check into the well-being of your child, you know, if you're abusing her or neglecting her. Now, DIFUS came to my house, and they checked my whole house. They checked, I bring them through my clothes, the baby's clothes, refrigerator, food, diapers, everything that you could possibly want for an infant. She had everything, okay? The woman then returned another time. Okay, they don't announce their visits, they just come in, you know. And the woman came in another time and stated that she wanted some further information. I let her look through the house again, okay? And she said she's closing the case, that...
Pauline, did you call DIFUS?
The first time, yes, I did.
Why?
Because Robin was separated from her husband, and things were not going good with the baby.
Like what?
Well, Robin was living in places that were unfit for the baby. We were worried about. We were told that the baby was taken out when the baby was sick.
Where did you get this information from?
People that Robin was living, when she left her husband, she was living with a friend. And this friend would call us and tell us that the baby wasn't being cared for.
I didn't live with anyone. I have an ex-friend. We're not friends anymore. Yvonne, that we were friends, and the reason why we became friends was we're around the same age, and she's got 3 children. I have a daughter, and we kind of had a good relationship because we can see eye to eye. She didn't have a very good relationship with her husband, and I was separated from Mark, so we bonded. When I went back with Mark, she got very jealous, and she felt very left out.
Oh, so she told stories to the mother.
Misery likes company.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that she lied from everything, but from a little story she grew. She made something huge and
This
humongous.
girl was under the impression that this child was not being taken care of properly. That's why she called us.
No,
that's why we got in contact with her. We were also informed that the baby was living in a motel on Route 1 with her while she was separated with her husband.
Every state does not have a law allowing grandparents to petition for these rights. In fact, laws differ from state to state. Meet Debbie. She says 5 months ago, her son's girlfriend, Lisa, told her she could never see the grandchild, Dylan, again. Debbie says she's been so distraught over this situation, she's really thinking about killing herself. Lisa is here today with her own mother, Kathy, who is obviously Dylan's other grandmother. So we've got the 2 grandmothers and the mother. We're going to talk with them in a minute. First, Debbie, I know you're in a great deal of pain. Why has it come to this?
I don't know. I want these answers today. I have never been told why I'm unfit to be a grandmother to her children.
Now, it was your son. They weren't married, right? That makes it even more complicated legally.
The first child was born when they were both teenagers.
Right.
We didn't push, Kathy and I did not push them into marriage. But I prayed that when they were old enough that they would choose that.
Lisa, what happened with your relationship with your boyfriend?
It was basically an unhealthy relationship, and I decided that it would be best for me and my children just to get out now.
Is it his child you're 9 months pregnant with?
Yes.
So you're 9 months pregnant and you have another child, Dylan.
Yeah.
And why do you not want his mother to see the baby?
At this point, I feel like any contact with her, because of you know, things that have happened, would create an adverse effect on him. She has a history of child abuse, and that, to me, is very scary.
That's a very strong statement.
Yes.
When you say she has a history of child abuse, what does that mean to you?
When her son was young, he was abused by her, and up until 5 months ago...
Did he tell you that?
Yeah. Yes.
Was it ever proven?
Not legally, I don't believe, but I mean, I don't need proof. I know it's true. She knows it's true. And
is it true, Grandma?
It is not true.
Did your son make up that story?
He did. He did it many times. He likes to...
Debbie, who raised Jesse?
Jesse... Sally asked me a question.
Yeah, well, answer that.
He liked to have a lot of people pity him.
So he would make up stories
He would make up these stories.
Have you ever been arrested for child abuse?
Yes, he brought me up on charges, but they were unfounded. He one time told him that I hit him with my car.
So it wasn't proven?
No, no.
Did you ever do it?
No, I would like to.
Question? Question?
No.
Debbie, who raised Jesse?
I left my ex-husband when Jesse was 8 months old because my ex-husband was a drug abuser, alcoholic.
And so were you?
No, I am...
Rosalind, would you stand up? This is Rosalind Seltzer. Rosalind, tell me what happened with you.
Well, I was unable to see my grandchildren. My grandson will be 5 years old in June, and he was a few months old before I could see him. I was not allowed to come to the hospital to see him when he was born. My son called me to tell me and made it a fact that I was the first one that he told. And I was so excited that this grandchild was an extension of my life, too.
Why won't they let you see the child?
No one has been able to get an explanation. We now have a granddaughter. And I saw my granddaughter one time when she was a month old. There had been 9 months between the time that I saw my grandson and then I saw my granddaughter. And it was, my son called me and said I could come on a Saturday night.
Parent necessarily right. In other words, I've had children, and I know there are times my kids are furious with me, and I don't know what I did. I mean, are we always wrong? Or is this lady, are we always wrong?
No, you're not always wrong. I think what happens sometimes is that we're so passionate about our love that the anger is also very passionate, Sally. And I think that what happens is that we may be, instead of pulling back and allowing the parent to parent, we may be over-parenting, okay, what we call it over-involvement. The thing to do for grandparents is to keep that door open, to keep the lines of communication open, to be supportive and not judgmental.
But how do you do that if your child says, I don't like your religion, or I don't like you're a Democrat, and you can't see my kid?
I think on the other side, the child has to also realize that their parents are the family historians, the people who can tell their children their past history and culture and pass it on from generation to generation. They don't have the same expectations.
We don't believe in our culture that grandparents are as important as other cultures.
Other cultures do, yes.
We got our grandson in 1984.
Yes.
His mother and her parents would not take care of the child. He was ill.
Right.
We took him into our home 4 years. Loved that child, took care of him, nurtured him. Finally, he went back to his mother. Now she agrees to give us 1 day a month on a Saturday.
That's very sad.
And Mark.
That's very sad.
And I have a granddaughter 17 years old, and I backed off. I backed off because I didn't want to cause grief to my granddaughter or my son.
Was it a great loss to you?
It was a great loss, but I stayed in contact. I didn't want to damage my granddaughter. She's 17 years old now. I've seen her maybe 10 times in 17 years. I flew her in from Ohio each time. And to this day, I get letters from her. I used to call.
Right.
Then you can't play gotcha.
That's right.
My situation's a little different, Sally. My son shot and killed my daughter-in-law. And I was awarded custody as the paternal grandmother. Adam was with me for 2 years. But because of a past history of child abduction on the part of the other grandmother, the maternal grandmother, she was not granted custody. She was given visitation, supervised in the beginning. Then they moved to unsupervised visitation. And 1 year ago, they fled with Adam. And I have not seen him since. Adam is being robbed.
Do you know where he is?
In a relationship not only with my